Well, we're going to go ahead and get started with our first update on our new construction and community forum. This will be the first of two that we'll have right now pre-groundbreaking so that you have an idea what's been going on. Since we have passed the building levy the bond issue last spring, it has been a whirlwind. And even though you don't physically see, brick and mortar going up, I can assure you there is a team of experts working tirelessly to put together the best possible building for the money that we have for them. Before we turn it over there, I do want to make mention. There's some flyers over here. If you didn't get any before, feel free to take one as you leave. Courtney Steckel over here you can also see her. Wave, Courtney. If anybody wants a flyer or has any questions, you can grab me afterwards or talk to Courtney. Just a real quick note, we do have a renewal coming up on May 8th. Please understand, a renewal does not increase taxes. Okay, it will not increase. It's taxes you're already paying into the school. 5 years ago, actually when I came here 7 years ago, we were in fiscal caution. We had to reduce and cut over $1 million out of our budget. It hurt quite a bit. A lot of positions were not filled. We worked very hard at putting this district back on some sound fiscal footing. 5 years ago, with the passage of the emergency levy, it kept us out of state receivership. We were that close. We've worked very hard. We promised that we would at the very least, make this levy last for 5 years before we would need any new additional dollars. And we believe that if we continue down the path that we're going, that we can make it go another 5. So we feel very good. Dan, our treasurer, has worked very hard with it. We constantly look at everything that we spend. Is it important for kids? And that really is the barometer that we look at. You're talking about a emergency levy lasting 10 years plus. That's kind of unheard of in Ohio. But we're in a position where we're not, certainly not wealthy, but we're stable, and so we can provide for these kids the best that we can, and we're excited about that. Now, that's my pitch. May 8th. Again, it will not increase taxes. And I know you've probably noticed some of the construction going on out here, over here, behind DQ, down in the southwest part of town. And of course, Jim's area up here, Indian Trace, we believe will likely start up shortly. All that new construction as well will reduce your taxes. Okay? An emergency levy is for a dollar amount. We get no more than what it was passed for 5 years ago. We don't get a dime more out of it. Okay? So the more people that move in, construction, and build, it's more people that pay for the same amount. It's that simple. So, important date coming up. With that, wow, it's been exciting to get this thing rolling. It took us, the state's partnered with us, the Ohio Facilities Construction Commission, and they are providing for us $29 million in this project, which is a chunk of change, okay? That's 68% of the beginning budget for this. Okay, at that point, once we passed then we had to go through the formal process. The state requires us to go through a formal process of selecting an architectural firm. Okay? That firm was Steed Hammond and Paul. And we have our lead architect, Mike Parkinson, here tonight to kind of go through this. The second phase of this piece that happened this fall and actually was finalized in January then was the formal selection of our construction manager. These are the guys that are going to be actually out in the trailers and really making sure all subcontracting work is done correctly. They're following the specs and the designs. So it's really a partnership that we have with this group. Pete Becker from Skanska Megan, they won that contract, and we're excited. We've got in Carlisle for this project a major league construction architectural group. I've been doing this a while. This is a great team, and it's exciting for me to see it. I'm sure it's exciting for you, and you guys will all be the beneficiaries and actually be in that building. So it's exciting. Okay? You two guys do back there. There we go. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to our lead architect, Mike Parkinson.
Thank you, Larry. Very kind words. I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and the opportunity to work on your project. SHP, along with Skanska Megan, have worked together on a few projects in the past, so we have a very, I would say, well-tuned oil machine as far as how we work together. So this wasn't sort of a just sort of a marriage that sort of happened. We have a long relationship working with each other. So we understand the elements of design and construction together. We collaborate quite frequently. We were even meeting yet this afternoon. It's not a sort of a once-a-month thing. Their office is right down the street from ours, so it's very easy for us to even get in touch when we're not up here in Carlisle. With that, we are just a very small piece to the puzzle to all this. What you see up here are some of the other players that we have at the table. Four Seasons is your your commissioning agent. What they'll be doing is looking at the exterior envelope of the building during construction. They'll be looking at the mechanical systems, the electrical systems, and the plumbing systems during construction and making sure that the things are inspected properly. Including during design, they'll go through design review. So as we go through this process, we'll work with Skanska and we'll put together our thoughts and ideas on the design, whether they're drawings and specifications. But Four Seasons also does review, so they're a player at the table as well, looking out for the district, as well as being a collaborative partner in the design process. The Kleinger's Group, they'll be your civil engineers. They do all the site utilities and grading stuff. Joby Smith and Associate, their specific job is just the kitchen. They bring a wealth of knowledge to this project. In my 20-plus years at SHP, that is the only kitchen consultant I've ever used. Kleinger's as well. GOP as well. All the players you see up here, we have worked together on multiple projects together. The small, the big, the really big. So we're very well versed in team orient in that regard. CTL Engineering will be your geotechnical testing agency. What they'll do is they'll go out there and they've actually already begun to test the ground. So we do a lot of fun dirt studies. We got to understand the soil capacity of those things. We have to understand those things because that affects the footing side. So when we're going through, and we call it soil stabilization. So we need to understand how that impacts the project. That's always a wild card. There's only so many things we can control. And unfortunately, dirt is one of those sort of unknowns. So we do as much testing as we can so we can understand that. And then Mac Perrin will be doing the environmental and the abatement piece. Okay? Forward Edge, will be your technology engineer, and they're all underneath us. So they'll be helping lay out the access control securities, the projectors, TVs, you name it, anything related to technology. They are the ones leading that charge. As far as schedule, this is a draft schedule you see in front of you here. Again, collaboration between SHP and Skanska Megan on it. The idea is we are going to proceed 36 weeks straight in design. may seem like a lot of time, but it's actually moving pretty quick on this side of a project. Not it. But we're able to do that on your project and get you in your building in 2020 because of the team relationship that we have with Skanska Megan and all the other consultants that you see up there. We'll do an early site package, and we'll begin the actual construction of stuff in 19. That's right, Bob? The summer. Well, the summer, yes, the early site package. So, you know, as far as the details of that early site package, hasn't yet been fully determined. We're working through that with the district and with Skanska Megan. The idea being we need to get things sort of prepped and ready to go to make sure we're able to maintain your school operations, whether it's access to your fields or just the schools themselves. So Larry's talked a little bit about this. There are some, the total square footage around 206,548. There's a component in there called a locally funded initiative. What a locally funded initiative is what you voted on. It's the extras that OFCC do not co-fund. So things that are important to the district. Larry's already talked about growth. And I'm going to guess there's probably going to be more growth once you get this beautiful new building. So we want to make sure we're planning for those extra classrooms. We want to make sure that you have that auditorium space. We want to make sure that you have a proper sized high school gym. Okay? Right now, there's about $38+ million for construction. Those numbers are being looked at. The Ohio Building Code implemented a new piece to the code fairly recently for the storm shelter. So we have to account for that in your building. So there will actually be a EF5 rated storm shelter in your building. It comes at a price, but we'll work through on how we get over that hurdle. There will be many bumps in the road. We try and smooth those out as much as possible. We try to plan as much as possible. So we're talking about doing preliminary geotech stuff. That's to sort of help get rid of the surprises. Right, B? I mean, we don't want to just start construction and not understand what we have underneath us.
Maybe elaborate a little bit on the storm structure, but basically it's a big giant tornado shelter that's got to house everybody in the school. And if you think about it, you know, I think what's the wind capacity of that thing?
Well, EF5, I really can't grow up. You're up that high.
It's bigger than a Miami-Dade County hurricane wind force. So that was just thrown on us after the agreement with the state. So they're kicking in a lot, about $1 million more, I want to say, or somewhere in that range.
Somewhere in there. The numbers haven't been, it hasn't been determined yet.
So we're working through that. At the same time, trying to maintain the start date for the schedule for this summer for breaking ground.
Now, the sort of good news on the storm shelter is, yes, it's a new piece to the Ohio Building Code, but we have a couple other projects in our office that are already sort of further down the pike, if you will. So we're learning a lot from them. So the good news, you get the benefit from all their mistakes. So we were, get to learn from that and improve upon that and make it better for you. Demolition. So once we're gonna build your new building first. We're gonna do the early site package, build your new building, place it pretty much right behind this existing high school right now, between the stadium and this high school. And then we have 4 existing buildings, right? So right now, 100+ acre site, 4 schools. And once your new building's built, and these buildings come down, it's gonna feel much different. It's gonna be a park with a school rather than a school with a park. It's a much different feeling, much different community piece to it. We don't know about Grigsby yet. I don't know if Lori wants to talk about that piece at all, as far as why we're saying evaluate on that.
Well, the only thing that I like to play things safe. I want to make sure, I want to always have a trump card to go to if I'm playing poker or something. So the only reason I've got that there is if something just bizarre happens and there's a growth explosion that just is not expected. We're expecting some, okay? Grigsby will be the last building that we bring down. It's because it's the one that's in the best shape. Plus, the mechanicals don't impact underground and all that other stuff. It's just it'll just be the last one that we bring down. That way we can actually physically be in the buildings and making sure that we have enough space. But like I said, it's still in the budget to bring it down and then landscape around it, but it's going to be the last one. We're just going to. Enrollment is so hard to get right because there's too many factors that impact it. So that's the only reason that's on there.
So if you ever want to know what's inside an architect's head, this is exactly what it looks like. There's a lot of chaos in the beginning, but it's organized chaos in a good way. We're doing phase 1 environmental site assessments out here before we break ground. We're going to do traffic impact studies. We talked about the geotechnical engineering. We're doing surveys. We're doing camera scoping of your existing utilities to make sure that maybe there's some cost savings where we can possibly reuse some of that. So utilizing your existing features here on site to help save you money. The part of sort of untangling what's in our head is understanding your vision. Yes, SHP and Skanska-Megan have designed and built quite a few schools together, but we don't understand your story. We don't quite understand what Carlisle is all about and how you want to deliver education, not how you deliver it today, but how you're going to deliver it in the future. Okay? I wish I had a crystal ball, because I would be in Florida, wouldn't have to be dealing with snow, right? But I don't. But what I can do for you is understand your vision and give you the most amount of flexibility when we leave here. Well, I want to make sure this school is, I know, is going to be here for a long, long time. And I want to set you up for success. I want to make it the best, beautiful building I can for you. So understanding your educational visioning is part of that. So we've already started that process, has gone through it, published a book. We need to understand your history and heritage. There's a lot of cool features out here on this site, believe it or not. I know the schools, you know, they look a little worn, but they served you well, but you got some cool architectural features out here. So how we incorporate them, if we incorporate them, I don't know yet, but we're listening and understanding. So we've talked about visioning. We've talked about being able to do that. All these pieces, parts that you see up here, Larry loves me in my calendar invites. I send out a lot. I send out these calendar invites to make sure all the horses that we have in our stable are all moving in the right direction, because there is a lot of stuff going on. So this is all the departments. This is where we start to really dive down in the weeds to each space and really listen to your staff and students as far as how they need to be, not today, but for the future. This is yet to come in April, which is right around the corner. So more research, more and more research. Mr. Becker, this slide look familiar to you?
Yeah, we've already, back before we even turned in a proposal, we were worried about all the utilities, how to refeed all the services to the stadium, you know, how to take care of the well water getting pumped over to to keep the grass green on the football field, how to keep the electric to the concession stand and over to the locker rooms over there. So we actually went out and hired a surveyor to come out here during our proposal process and really at our expense to get this thing ahead of the game, because we really think it's important to hit that summer of 2020 completion schedule. We had to do some homework to be ready to go. And I think it's paid off in a lot of design collaboration meetings. We already got a plan. We know we just can't, you'll see a drawing here in a minute that shows where the new building's going to go. And basically, if you look at all the lines that go from the high school over to the concession area, with the new building going there, we're basically going to be cutting all that off. So we got a plan. It's in the works, and I'll leave it at that.
I know I'm not going to be anybody's best friend if the lights are not on at the football game. So, and you got to have water. So there are a lot of other things to consider: parking, access, and safety, all those things, and coordination with your city agencies. We've in addition to those department meetings, just this past week, maybe week and a half, we've done what we call standards meetings. So we've done architectural, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, technology. I think April 4th we're planning on doing kitchen. And we've met with the city agencies here to get them sort of up to speed as far as what our approach is, what the timeline is. The standards meetings from the architectural, MEP, and technology is to understand how your district operates and, sort of let us know what the no's are and what the yeses are.
Mike, what's MEP?
Thank you.
We're acronym
Let
driven.
Dan, do you remember what MEP stands for? Oh, crud. We'll keep working with you. Yes, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So I'm not making fun of Dan because we say these things all the time, and I'm glad Dan stops us because I know sometimes even when I'm in a technology meeting, it feels like French class. So, that's an okay question. When we say it, and it just rolls off the tongue, so I apologize and thank you for saying that. We'll keep working with Dan we'll get him a cheat sheet. The list would be long. Where was the double one we had the other day? PE.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. PE, that was a trick question.
That's gym class.
There you go. That's physical education, project engineer, and professional engineer.
3 of them.
Yeah. So it's choose your own adventure. Okay, site diagrams. More understanding your site, where the county lines are, how the building could or shouldn't be on your site. So we've done analysis as far as understanding topography, understanding orientation, understanding relationships to the existing fields, understanding relationship to Jamaica. So, apologize. So here's what we talked about, right? Here's the existing high school. This is the building site with the existing stadium just to the east up there. So, it's going to feel a little different. We're going to get a little cozy out there. We're going to make sure it's safe, and we're going to make sure that you get to maintain those utilities while we're constructing, because that's the last thing we want to do, is cut those off for you. And we want to make sure that police and fire and all them are involved in this as well, because we want to make sure that not only is the site safe, but access to those existing buildings is still safe and secure. So conceptually, big picture, what we can dive down a little bit. This was a really early sketch. I think this was one of the sketches we had in our interview. The thought being that we would have buses just to the east that could dual purpose for kindergarten play during the day, also serve as additional parking for the stadium, and then have all your traffic come off of Jamaica there. So this unfortunately, if you look at my laptop, the colors are a little better. But what I will say is this area that you see here, this is beginning to develop a little different than what we're thinking about doing. And again, everything you see here, we're not done baking the cake, okay? We are still adding ingredients. We're still trying to figure it out. The image isn't there. I know Pete wishes I was done next week. Larry wishes I was done last week. But we're getting there. We're getting there. It's going to take time to formulate. We're testing ideas. When we go through this process, I know there's a finite number of dollars available. And Skanska-Megan and SHP know that there's no secret stash. So we got to make sure as we're going through and evaluating pavement sections, amount of pavement, how we place that pavement and where we place it, that it's flexible, and that the building itself is beautiful, yet doesn't necessarily, what we say, have any fat in it. The last thing we want to do is waste those dollars that we have to work with on this project. What I will say is our team with Skanska, treat your dollars as if they were our dollars at home. So you think back a few slides, that messy chaos sort of yarn ball that you saw there in the beginning. This is what we call the building spaces, or stuff related to the program, what we call program requirement, or POR. POR. So these are all the pieces, parts that make up your building. So sort of throw them out there on the table. and we try and make them fit together all nice and snug. And what I will tell you from a 10,000 foot level, without getting in the weeds just yet, is the idea is you would have grades 1, 2, and 3 over here, with grades 4, 5, and 6 on the second floor. You would have the elementary office, board office, secured entry vestibules, PKK in this area, your cafeterias, middle school gym and locker rooms, and then the high school piece over here with the high school gym and the high school office with grades 9 and 10, and then they would wrap around up there on that second floor. We wanted to separate those grades while still looking at creating a continuum. It was one of the things mentioned in the visioning doc. One of the nice things that this does is that it reduces footings, reduces roof, saves you dollars. So from a sort of idea of space planning, and what we're trying to do in these concepts you see up here is just understand the relationship between spaces. This gives us a good sort of jumping point to start laying out walls. We were talking about walls this afternoon, looking at dollars and how they fit in your budget. Dave Williams, who's their pre-construction director, we work together really well with. We like to have our buckets of money.
Buckets of money.
The buckets of money are important. So with all the horses we have and all those consultants you saw about, yes, there is a big, in essence, pot of money, right? But if my consultants don't understand how much is a portion to them, we tend to get things kind of a little sideways. And it's not that it won't a little straight to the right. And it's not a bad thing if it goes a little to the right. If it goes to the right, it just means we got to take it from another bucket and understand what that impacts. And you'll see that slide a little bit, but we try and keep it as straight as we can. Or as we like to say, keep them in their swim lanes. Moving 36 weeks straight in design, it's super critical that we're constantly meeting with your district and your staff and your community and your city agencies and the builder so that we will be successful in the early site package. So we will be successful when we start this building construction, because there will be bumps in the road, I promise you. Been doing this 20 years. I wish I was perfect. I'm not. We try and think and learn from all of our past projects, but every project's a little unique. What we try and do is smooth out the big waves. They have little ones. We can deal with the little ones. Sometimes you get the big ones, we can deal with those too. Storm shelter was a fun one, jokingly. It's just something we can't control. So we have to deal with it. We have to understand, are there ways we can reduce costs in the design or construction of it to help pay for those pieces that just come up. There's going to be bumps in the road. And like I said, that just happens to be one of them. With that, I don't know if Mr. Becker has any...
Just an example today, we probably met in an office together evaluating some cost systems on an exterior wall. And in the old days, the design we get done, we'd estimate it and tell them they're over budget.
Ouch.
And then so it's called there's three big kind of budget components. There's schematic design is phase one, design development is phase two, and then you get into the GMP, guaranteed max price, which we give to the district on the price of the building. That's phase three. Well, historically, when you get to the schematic design, the cost, if the budget's here, the cost is always up here. And then you got to go back and say, okay, here's some ideas to cut this out, cut that out. We call it value management. But like today, we did an exercise, and that exercise this early in the game was worth about $600,000.
I calculated 720, but we'll have to agree to disagree.
But anyway, so if that would have got to that SD phase at the end of that schematic design, and we would have been talking about $600,000 over, we missed our opportunity.
Yeah, no.
So by doing it early,
yep,
months in advance, having these continual conversations, when we get to that schematic design phase, we're on budget. That's our goal. And we're marching forward, and we get to the end of the DD. And the end of the DD is this summer, believe it or not. And
end of DD stands for?
Why that's design development.
No, done design at the end of DDs.
Done design, that's true.
Yeah.
But that's the key to start breaking ground with dirt this summer. And open in 2020, we're going to start moving earth, and it doesn't take long. And then right after that, we're going to start a foundation underground package and then get everything up to the slabs. And then come January, it'll start going vertical. So don't think this summer it's going to start going up in the air. It's all the flat stuff. And then once at the end of the year,
Yeah, underground utilities, all
Yeah.
those things to get.
everything to what I'm standing on. And then January of 19 is when we'll start going with the core and shell. That's it.
That's all we got to do. This next couple
There'll be
years.
better. There'll be prettier pictures as you're going. You're going to see this thing develop. We'll keep presenting. And,
No, you know, we hope to. We're very early in the stages, but what I wanted to share with you, as Larry has pointed out, I trust me. I get you want to see where's the walls, where's the roof. I'm with you. I'm excited to be on this. We're all excited to be a part of this, but we have to do our homework first, and we have to do all those things we talked about: department meetings, program of requirements, visiting, phase 1 environmental site assessments, traffic impact studies, geotechnical engineering, site surveys. Understanding swim lanes, buckets of money, understanding total project picture, what utilities we need to move, all those things lay the groundwork for us to be successful in the end, be successful and really make good use of your dollars and deliver you a beautiful building that would be on time and on budget. So, Larry, you.
Here, we'll take some questions here in a second. Just want to, I haven't even talked to him yet about some kind of little, actually a big ceremony to, with the little shovels and do all that kind of stuff. That'll happen. These guys will tell me when that's the right time, and then we'll get a bunch of people out there and have some fun. Also, one of the things that's going to happen, though, that you'll probably see take off as early as next month will be the relocate. Well, we'll play softball right out here this spring as like normal. But understand, that's going to be under the building. So by next spring, we have to have a different varsity field. And I think we're going to redo the farthest one down in the corner. Outfields will be touching towards the baseball field. You can see it down. Left field is hitting the right, well, it's not hitting it, but it's towards the baseball. Okay? That area, we're actually being drawn right now, dugouts, and that'll be being submitted to the city for permits and stuff, and so you'll see some excavating taking place there. That's not where the building's going. So if anybody goes, well, it's way in the back. No, that's all. Because we got to get that in. We got to get grass planted in the fall so we can plant it again late winter, so we can get a couple of seedings, because next spring, that's the field. And we're going to encourage our peewees to use it in the summer, because that actually helps a baseball field and a softball field, keeps the weeds out of it. So it'll be a really nice facility for our girls. So we don't know exactly how the footprint's going to look. Likely we'll still have our little peewee one right, that's real close to the concession, but if not, we'll relocate it so that we don't lose any time with that. So you're going to see that happen quickly, just because of the time it takes to grow grass. So you'll see that going on as well. So a lot of fun stuff. So with that, again, if you have any questions, here's our experts. And go ahead.
That future baseball and future softball, is there field out there?
No, the cornfield is, oh yes. Probably not the baseball right now. There'll probably be a parking lot right in here, so that you don't have to walk from here to there. and that's, what's the word you use? It's still baking. We don't know where this is gonna, once you get the final print, then we'll know how we're gonna run an athletic road back there so people. There'll be no more planting. There's no more in the cornfield. Is that what you mean? That's going to be the varsity field. Yeah. You won't by next year. You'll like it next year. Yeah. Well, and the idea is with the parking, that will also help with baseball. It'll also help be another place to park for future football or for football, as well as soccer fields. There'll be some additional parking instead of the hike.
Is there room, say, we grow more than we expect, is there room to add on to these?
Yeah, absolutely. So, great question. Great question. So we talked about flexibility. When we are looking at the building, we want to make sure that you do have the ability to grow these classroom wings. So this one has plenty of room to the east and west, as does the other. So when we're even looking at pavement layouts, whether it's for the drive or parking, we want to make sure that we're not putting somewhere where you can expand to where we have a drive or something. I mean, what I find so funny in a somewhat funny way is you've got a huge 100-acre site, but you're only giving me this much. Only this much. Like, Larry, you just couldn't, just a little bit more. So we got to understand that. We want to make sure when we're laying that out that we are separating parent drop-off, buses, midday PK, and obviously student parking as well. So as we go through those analysis, and this building concept that you see here, which is far from the final vision, we'll continue to refine that and always keep that. So when we're getting further along, we want to make sure that those pieces, parts, have that flexibility and growth for you. Absolutely, required by code.
Question was, will the building being two-story going to be accessible for handicap?
Yes. Yes. Standard with today's buildings and the code.
Is the only accessibility going to be from Jamaica, or are you going to add anything from Fairview? Is it mainly just going to be a Jamaica Road access?
So currently, yes, and there's a couple of reasons for it. We have what they call alternates in the project currently. What an alternate is we designed for sort of the final, like everything you sort of almost want. But we also know that there's dollars don't support things. So there was some conversations early on about even the bus parking going back to your bus garage. Well, you would think $38 million would get you everything you want. Pete will tell you how fast everything goes. It's crazy. It's a lot of money, but we can't, right now it's not in the budget, but we're planning on doing an alternate for it. What that means is, if the bids come in good, the market's not volatile, and it's a contractor's market. I mean, we're seeing this upswing right now, but given where we're going to be bidding, Pete, right? Bidding at prime time, beginning of the year when contractors are trying to load their books up, is the best time for this project to be out there. Skanska Megan, I will say, they have a lot of connections with contractors, not just here in the area, but outside this area, to bring to the table qualified, great contractors, not just any contractor. So they have a lot of reach in bringing people to the table The best thing we can do for you, one of the best things we could do for you is bring competition to the bidding process. Competition will bring inherently better pricing. Would you?
One of the other big things that's happened in this delivery method is, and we try to set the job up, he used the word alternates, so we set those up to protect the budget. So things like, extra parking areas, that maybe it'd be sweet to have in the full picture, but you may not be able to, you want to protect the budget so we can keep moving forward to keep the schedule, get open in 2020. And then we have these things called contingency release dates. So what we try to do is set it up to where at 25% of the project completion, we give back money to the district. And then you sort of, you prioritize your alternates, and then like a lot of times the parking doesn't come in, some of the added parking doesn't come in towards it'll be in the spring of 20, right when you come out of the winter. So if this was March of 20, we're getting ready to go into April when we're ready to start all the site work. Then you start releasing, there's no snow on the ground, and you start releasing those kind of parking lot alternates and drives. And really, it depends on, where we're at on budget and the wish list. We call it the wish list.
I think one of the other things, Matt, that to address that, one of the things that we talked about, number one, was separating the parent drop-off from the bus drop-off. Okay? That's going to happen. Where the actual access will be is to be determined. So that's one of those things that we sat around and we talk about what's got to be versus what we want. That's a got to be. So the design ultimately will have bus dropping in a different location than the car drop-offs. And if it happens to be both on Jamaica, they're going to be separated as far as we can get it separated.
Absolutely, and that's part of the traffic analysis study that we go through. So I love design. I'm an architect. But we have really smart people who know a lot about traffic. Stuff that makes my head hurt, but that makes them smile. So having them on the team, understanding that we have the proper separation, understanding that we got the proper queue space for parent drop-off, that we're not stacking cars out in the street, and that we got plenty of room curb-wise, bringing buses, all those things is why we have such a diverse pool of talent on this team, because while I know enough that to leave it to the experts and have them help guide your district to making the right decision and making best use of your dollars.
And one of the things that we had, one of the restrictions we had with traffic, without doing the traffic study, is that this is Fairview.
Yeah.
This is 123. We have one traffic light.
Oh, yes.
So we have to bring the buses this way because they can't turn left. That's why we couldn't. We were thinking initially, but then turning again left for a bus with that kind of traffic is almost impossible at that point. So that's one of the things that we're
still evaluating. It's an option on the table. Nothing's really 100% decided. There's been some things that we're kind of getting close on, but we're still developing yet. We're still in the so when Pete talked about schematic design, that sort of first phase of design, then design development, and then construction documents, the CD phase. We're in the schematic design phase. And we're at about the 10th week into that. But we've done a lot of sketches. I mean, what you see here is just one of, I don't know, 50 sketches? I don't know. We meet quite regularly outside of just coming up here, and we're constantly drawing. I have weekly team meetings. We have bi-weekly coordination meeting with our consultants. We have monthly core meetings. We have bi-weekly design coordination meetings, plus on top of all those other department meetings you see there. So we're meeting a lot. There is a lot of stuff we got to do. We have to listen and understand what's right for Carlisle, understand what the market's doing, and making sure we're talking about the amount of glass to wall ratio, talking about pavement and where that is, making sure that it fits in the budget, because we don't want to have to, I don't want to take 5 steps forward and do 3 steps back. Been through that in my early years. It stinks. I don't like doing it. So it's really great to have a partner like Skanska Megan at the table to help guide us through and make the right decisions as we move forward in this process. Anything, nothing's been decided. Again, we're going through the traffic impact study, and our engineers, they have to go through all that sort of analysis and understand those things. So.
Oh, yeah, anytime you have road, those things, what kind of impacts?
To make it exactly figured out, designed to make it all, or do you guys have to do that?
So it would be off-site improvement. There is roughly around 300,000 allocated for off-site improvements. So whether that means we need to add a turn lane, we are hoping not to spend any of that money. We're hoping to allocate that back into the project. The idea being we could utilize that rather than putting a turn lane on the street. Maybe we have enough queue space to bring those cars in. Anytime you move off-site, there's lots of ugly utilities we got to mess around with, or more stuff, if you will. So the more we're able to get people on site, the better it is for you. But it's not unheard of. Sometimes it's a simple restripe. You don't have enough room out there to do a simple restripe. So we're going through that analysis, and nothing's been figured out yet. We're still in that sort of study research phase. Yep. Yep. Staggered starts, though. That's going to help. So.
Late summer.
Early fall.
Okay, no more.
You're saying for the stuff in the back? You know, it really comes down to once we figure out where the final building's going. You know, well, what we do before we do any site logistics and final construction fences is we go through a plan and we prepare that plan. It's a little early right now for us to go in and make a bunch of assumptions when the building keeps moving around on us.
Hey.
We know it's going back there, so all that parking is going to be basically behind a high school is going to be gone. Yeah. So a lot of times what we've done on other projects is we put temporary stone lots in. You know, it depends on, you know, we price it up, look at money. I'm doing a big job down in Cincinnati where we took out, this is a big Division I football area, and we took out all their parking. And, you know, we worked out arrangements. The district said, hey, I don't want to spend $500,000 or $300,000-400,000 on temporary stuff. So they actually put them in a, you know, cut a deal with a developer, their parking, a shopping center. Now, we don't have that here, but so we'll figure something out. But and then they bust them in. So there's a lot of options. We'll present a lot of cost options. You know, what's the right thing? What's the wrong thing? You know.
Well, yeah. As we go through this, and working with Skanska is we don't. There might be some things that we're going to have to do just to get the building built and maintain operations. But as we go through that analysis, what we really try and do is, if we're going to put it in, that it has a final purpose. So we're not just
good money.
putting
used.
something in and then having to take it out.
But
So, okay.
To go on to that, though, believe it or not, the number of workers on this job site's probably going to be on a pretty high capacity. Could be up over 200 people. So
Does that include me?
I got to find a place to park those guys too. So it's a big study. We'll meet with athletics. We'll meet with the departments. We'll get sign off, presented for approval, and usually it's never been a problem.
Obviously, again, until we know exactly the footprint, okay, and where that'll be, okay, it's like a subdivision that's going in. There's going to be mud. There's going to be a little bit. It's not going to be normal, and it's not going to be where it's ultimately at. So, to tell you where the 6th grade Pee Wee group is going to be, I can't tell you that at this point. I can tell you we've got 100 acres. You'll be somewhere. Okay? No new bus barn? I didn't say that at all. But there is no new bus barn. No. Not at this point. Not at this point. No, you don't. You have no pets. Not anymore. I can't tell you what's buried there either. You don't want to know. No, I'm kidding. Actually, we do know
We'll
that's
find out
on
in
one of
phase
those things that as we continue beyond this building project, we do know that that's a high priority, and we'll do it. Yeah. Well, I can't say that. Depends on enrollment growth, population growth. If it grows and we have to get more buses, then we have to deal with that. So, yes, there is. Yep. And I bet you there's more than a couple. Yeah. Yeah. Just remember, once this gets going, they do fence off the construction area. It's safe. But like I said, it's temporary. It's temporary. So where this group will go, that's an ongoing decision. Where's the band going to practice? Where's this, when is it going to start? When is it? That will impact it all. We're already talking about where's football going to practice, varsity football, and depends on where that footprint is and how far we can go down towards the tennis courts. So there's a lot of that we'll still be logistically working out.
This kind of sounds like a dumb question, but so when we get done with all this and we start raising the buildings, this whole corner down here is just basically open like a park. Is there any? Do you have any thought about like trying to save some? Because we have a really nice campus with some cool trees.
Yep.
Are we just going to go like scorched earth and just
Nope.
wipe it out? Or are we going to at least try to save some of these trees over there so the park that's left looks good?
Well, so it's a great question. And my landscape architect, who's part of SHP, would shoot me if I had that opinion, or that I would even make that advice to the district. There are some trees that could be coming down.
There's a couple of trees that are dead
But-
or almost.
Sure.
But-
But the mature ones that are nice, if we don't have to, that's part of the.
Well,
Cool.
yeah, and so when I talk about sort of the history of Carlisle, I remember the first time I came on site seeing those trees. And yes, some of them are in some bad shape, and we're going to have to take a couple of those down. What we've done now on the last few projects is we've actually reclaimed those trees. We've planed them down, either turned them into benches where we had usable wood still left. We've made what we call tree cookies, little stumps and stools for outdoor learning areas. So while those trees may be coming down, we are going to plan for and incorporate them hopefully into the design. Pete and I, working on it at another past district, they just now started putting in some of those parts into an interior learning courtyard. Beautiful. I mean, I saw this stuff, and it's just it's a really cool thing when you're able to take sort of the history or the trees and bring it back into the life of the new building. So no, The plan is not to scorch the earth. That would be irresponsible. We're only going to affect a very finite piece of what we have to do.
All the way down through there. Of course, with the sewer line, everything else, that was not possible, but maybe someone else had. You might, community groups.
We do have a group that's looking at that. Actually, the thought process right now is a memorial garden, which is a little more permanent. The bad thing about memorial trees is they will die. Some of them unexpectedly, and don't know why. They just, it's a tree. Sometimes they do. So the memorial garden kind of is kind of surfacing. I know where that'll be ultimately, but any student or staff member that has passed, especially while they're in school, would be on that. Kind of a reflection area. And again, it's a thought right now on how we're going to put that together so that we can honor those students and always remember them. So we're very aware of that, and I think that's that's kind of what's coming out right now. A couple of people we've talked to about how can we do this and make it a nice and permanent thing where we don't have to worry about, is it going to die? Is it going to, we have a bad winter or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I can't get into the specifics of it. I don't want to talk publicly about it. But what I will say, it'll be very secure and very safe. We are very well tuned with that, I will say. But I will not get into the details of it. Yeah.
I can tell you that buildings that have been built now since probably, I don't know, 2000, early 2000s are completely different than the ones built prior to, with Columbine being a 1999 event. And then subsequent to that, buildings keep getting more and more security built into them. There'll be no direct access into the student population. There'll be a little bit of, I don't want to say a maze, that's the wrong word. But you'll have to be screened before you're allowed to get into the student population. So that's one of the things that's pretty common. Obviously, the security cameras really throughout the building and exterior as well that are accessible by our police department 24/7, 365. That's another component. There'll be other pieces that, again, I don't want to go into a whole great detail, but that's a high priority in any facility, and it certainly is one that we think about constantly.
Storm shelter? Yes. Absolutely. This is new in the code. This is brand new as of this year. I had projects further down the pike in design. And God love the Ohio Building Code. It was, there you go. Awesome. Nope. Pete and I have gone back and forth understanding cost, taking that and putting it underground. You'd have to put something on top. When you put something on top, that structure, guess what? Has to be really, really beefy. So it's really not cost effective to do that.
Well, with the state legislature putting that expense of that storm shelter on us, taking out our tax dollars to be gladly put up, can't we put pressure on them to fund that out of the state legislative fund?
It's that would be a miracle if that happened. It's in the
Do
Ohio.
I think that sounds appropriate?
Yeah,
You know, I'm
no.
all for it, Jimmy. I'm going to elect you to go up there because I think for schools within this last year and a half that just, there was no grandfathering. Typically when, they do something like this, they do a grandfather period where, once you've established how much money you have, I can understand now, future buildings, if levies that go on, they know that's in there. This one came out of left field. Nobody knew it. So we have to have the
They are
capacity.
kicking in additional dollars.
Yeah, the OFCC is kicking in some extra dollars. Will it cover it 100%? Probably not, but it helps. It's going to cover 68% of it. That helps. That helps. But
schools that don't have the fortunate opportunity to work with OFCC, who are doing it entirely sort of on their own, that's 100% them. You are in much better position than those other projects out there currently being constructed with no dollars from the state. So, yeah, it's a bump in the road. We're going to continue to keep at it and look at dollars, ways to save money. Note as we go into these meetings that sometimes you'll hear somebody saying, and I'll stop them and say, no, we haven't made any final. There's no decision made. Well, let's continue to look at it and analyze it. Bring Skanska Megan to the table and get their opinion on it. Maybe they reach out to a contractor to get their feel for it. So it's a very collaborative process. There's no one decision made by anybody in sort of a silo of by themselves. We are collaborating. We have a lot of experts at the table helping in these decisions. I wish I did. Trust me, Pete would love me. I'd be Pete's best friend, and not just his best friend. But we'll continue. So in design development, as we move forward, this will probably start. I heard like April-ish, sometime in April. Is it now? The department meetings.
Oh.
Yeah. Department meetings is when we begin to look at classrooms, and we'll talk about materials like casework, technology, all the pieces, parts that go into that. As we continue to refine that, really in what we call DD, design development, really schematic is just sort of getting you a general picture. And then design development is really where we begin to tune it in. Absolutely. If I haven't said it, I'll say it again. I love collaboration. And we like to bring all the stakeholders to the table and make those decisions. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about your community. It's about your staff and your students.
That also happens. Yeah. Well, that happens. So, those same meetings go on with athletics, kitchen. Those same meetings, though, go on with special ed. They go on with athletics, kitchen staff, arts, music. So it's a.
Music once. I think both band and choral kitchen is coming up because we'll have one central kitchen with two different separated eating areas. One's elementary, one's secondary. So that's coming April 4th.
April 4th, yeah.
I just saw that in
Another invite.
another invite.
I know. We don't have anything available at this time. We're
The difference that you get, I've built, and I've built 2 houses, and, you go to Drees was one of them, I'm sorry, the other one wasn't, but I did go, like to Drees, you go to a home center and you go, okay, I like one of 5 plans that you can have in this subdivision, okay? So you pick your plan, then you get 3 or 4 elevations that you can choose that you can put on it. So you got a pretty good idea. It doesn't take as long. You do a school, you start with this. Then the next thing is, what do you got to have? What do you like? What do you think? And so we've been meeting, and we had 42 people that met for 2 hours a night for how many weeks did they meet? Jeepers. I kind of feel bad. Man, they were troopers. I don't know how many people in here were on that. Any of them were on that? 1, 2, Brad. We had we had teachers, we had just a whole group of people. We had business partners and all picking their brains trying to figure out, okay, what's important? Because every school is uniquely different. I don't know if I've ever seen one the same.
Same?
Exactly. I mean, you might see this component of it looks really similar, but everything else is different. So, yeah.
Going forward, how will you determine what to repair with the existing schools and what to kind of, because obviously we needed new schools. So as things start to disintegrate, what will we repair and what will you kind of?
Well, the first thing that we do is when we look at it, we're going to look at is what is it that's we need repairing. If it's asphalt out here, I'm going to do a lot of patching for the next 2 years. I'm probably not going to lay a lot of asphalt down because that's really expensive, and it's not going to be there past 2 years. So we did order 2 big skids of, I think it just got here, didn't it? Last week, maybe? End of last week? We had a couple of big skids, so we'll be filling up potholes, which seems to be an Ohio thing. So but when you start talking about the buildings, it just depends on what it is. We're gonna maintain it because we have kids in it. So obviously plumbing and all that stuff, we fix it. Ken will stay, I'm sure, pretty busy this summer, as he always is. Most of you know Ken Sprinkles, kind of our building supervisor, so if there's anything he just gets a hold of Dan and I. We have a budget, an amount that we keep there for emergencies and or things that we have to get done. A year or so ago, we had to do quite a bit of work on our air conditioning system. So I think that we'll probably be okay for 2 years. So it's what is it? We have a leak, we'll repair it. So we'll keep the buildings going. We'll keep them going. But I'm probably not going to. You probably use more Band-Aids now than I ever had before. So they just have to be really good Band-Aids. So. Anything else? Got to keep that concession stand running. They already told me they'd skin me if that wasn't ready. So.
Got it.
We'll keep her going. We'll keep it going. So you may have already seen guys out here.
I'll give you my cell number.
Yeah. No, don't do that. Be careful what you wish for. You may have seen, if you look out and around, you may see, like up over by someone, you'll see little flags. They've been hard at it, mapping things out. And I've told them, I said, good luck. I don't know where things are running. Things may be.
I asked Larry when I can have a room somewhere in his office because I'm up here so frequently.
Yeah.
I just need a little cot. That's all I need. Sink, brush my teeth. I'm good to go.
Yeah. If there's not any,
I heard about the plug and play. Dan was describing that. Dan, you remember that? You were telling me about the phone where you had Mabel. That's the word you used.
Well, we tried to hit the 8 o'clock, but that's okay. We'll hang around if anybody has any additional questions. Courtney will hang around too as well if you have any questions about the renewal. Again, it's no new taxes. That's important to know. The other thing is, and we will have another town hall meeting, April 26th, Thursday, 7 p.m. as well. If you have a friend that missed it, it will be on the cable access channel. It will also be a link on the Carlisle Local Schools Facebook page that you can access, I believe. Okay, good, it actually worked. That's my tech guy. It's okay. So, and we'll do it again, and there'll be some more information and some different information. So stay tuned, invite your friends, neighbors. We'll see you in a month. Some of you I'm going to pull in quickly.